covered this on my podcast the other day. I happened across a Reddit post from a Jehovah's Witness kid whose story is eerily similar to mine, and I read it on air. I decided to put it on my main channel because it seemed important, so let's give his story a read. Let's get into it. This was a tough story to read, so I'm just going to jump into it. If you like the work I do and want to make sure I can continue to do it, there are a bunch of ways you can support me. Patreon, Teespring, and others. It can all be found in the description. Now let's give this story a read.
What's your advice to give to LGBTQ youth, more specifically if the youth is in an unsupportive religious family?
That's a really, really tough situation, and I'll give you the same advice that I give somebody who's trapped in a cult and doesn't know what to do about it. I would say you need to bide your time and prepare to leave when you can. When it's legal and safe to go, prepare for that time. There will come a time when you're able to leave and be out on your own and safe, and it's going to take a lot of work and preparation, so start working on it. And in the meantime, you can maybe try some deprogramming techniques, some subtle deprogramming techniques like street epistemology, trying to get your parents to open up a little bit to it. If it's safe, don't do this if you worry about what their reaction would be or something, because you don't want to really ruin things for yourself. You have to be really, really careful sometimes. Some people have to be really careful, so only do it if you feel comfortable doing it. But you could maybe try gently, carefully, nudging your parents in the right direction, that kind of thing, if it's a safe thing for you to do at that moment. I saw somebody who was watching the podcast live say, "I'm a trans man and my parents don't support me, and I don't know how long I can last." On that note, I want to mention that you should talk to people in the community here who are going through it now too. It's extremely important. And I wanted to read this one last article that I had here. It's not really an article, it's a Reddit post. It's titled, "I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I need help. I'm currently on a public library computer using free Wi-Fi because my rich, stingy parents haven't bought me a device of my own. This is my only escape to the outside world. I come from one of those conservative Jehovah's Witness families where if you're not reading the Bible, you're perusing the Watchtower magazine, praying, or witnessing to, annoying the hell out of, the neighborhood. I feel like I'm an outcast in prison. We don't have internet, no TV, no cell phone. My mom won't even let me check the letterbox in case there's something explicit in there. I'm forced to attend meetings I don't like. I'm forced to pray to a being who I don't think exists. I'm smart, but I'm not allowed to study for school because that's evil, transient things of this world. Why don't I leave? I'm 16. A lanky, bowl-cut teenager cannot face the world alone with no money. Why don't I leave when I get to 18? I've seen what happens to a close friend. Her family disowned her. Her other friends acted like she didn't exist. I tried to keep contact, but if I show my sympathy with her, I'll be severely punished. She tried to get jobs, but it's hard with no experience or life skills. What do I do? How do I break free? This is my exact experience. This is the exact thing that I experienced when I was that age. Well, really between 12 and 16 is when I experienced it. This exact thing. I wasn't allowed to communicate with the outside world. Wasn't allowed on the internet for a while. Wasn't allowed anything. Anything at all. Nothing. It was like a prison. It was like a prison. It was like isolation. It was isolation. It was like solitary confinement for years. It will fuck you up. So I definitely relate with this person. There's an update here. It says, my Wi-Fi is about to terminate, so I'll have to come back tomorrow if I can. And then it says, update. My free internet finished when I had 1 comment and 4 upvotes. I have to admit, when I logged back in tonight, I got a little overwhelmed at the response. The librarian asked me if I was okay, like you guys advised. I told him what was going on, and he's promised to try and help, while warning he's not sure what he can legally do if it's without parental permission. Here's my plan, and it's kind of a compilation of all your ideas. I'm going to read up on personal image employable characteristics, do some extra reading for school. I'm homeschooled. That's my exact story. I was too. So hopefully a university or employer will accept me at some point. I have a dream of becoming a psychologist so I can help deal with people's personal issues, which is naturally something I have great sympathy for. Might do some research on that as well. The only problem is I don't get much free time, about an hour at the start of the day and maybe an hour at the end. This is when my parents are off doing something, not sure what, and they dump me at the library with the latest watchtower. The librarian is going to talk to my parents about getting a small job I can do at the library. Cleaning, stacking, moving books, maybe even some desk work. Over time, I should be able to accrue some funds. Not sure where I'll keep them yet. It's going to be a steep climb, but you guys have inspired me to start the journey, and for that I could not be more grateful. This is seriously just my exact story. Let's look at some of the responses here. Ex-Jehovah's Witness here. I have a lot of sympathy for what you're going through. As bad as your situation is, what you have going for you is that you've decided to get out young. The best thing you can do right now is set yourself up for success for your future life free from the cult. It's coming up quickly. You're apparently still in school. Hopefully you aren't homeschooled, which he is. He did mention that. Your parents most likely are strongly against higher education. Ignore that. Start preparing for college. Talk to school counselors, your teachers, whoever you can, to help you get into college, hopefully with a lot of financial aid. The resources are out there. Tell them about your situation. Education professionals will not be sympathetic to parents that actively discourage education. Make them your allies. Do not tell your parents about your college plans until you absolutely have to. Of course, none of this applies if your parents are actually pro-college, as I understand some Jehovah's Witnesses actually are now. If you can't take it anymore, then do as others have suggested and try to get child services involved as others have suggested. I don't have any experience with that. That's up to you to decide if that's a step you need to take. I second the XJW subreddit as a great supportive resource. You didn't say where you were located, but on the odd chance that you happen to be in Central Texas and want to meet up with some sympathetic XJWs, I'd be happy to introduce you. If you're not, then the folks at XJW subreddit can probably help you meet some others that have been through what you're going through in your area. Above all, try to stay positive. This part of your life will be over soon. There's a whole big, exciting life waiting for you after you get out. Start preparing now. So that's it. I dealt with this exact thing. I really wanted to start a non-profit charity at one point, and I have like the mission statement and goals and everything all written up already that would help people like him, like this exact situation, figure out how to get into college, get financial aid for it, get them a cell phone, because this kid doesn't have one, so that they can stay in communication with friends, so that they can make friends, so they can use social media to build a support network, because that's the very last thing that Jehovah's Witnesses want, is for you to have an outside support network, so that when they pull the rug out from under you, they can be sure that you fall flat on your face. I still have that goal, but it's gonna be a while before I can actually act on it. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of time. I can just move on it slowly. That's the best I can do. But I really hope this kid gets help, because I can definitely relate with this deeply. What can we do for him? I want to help. I know thousands of people listening to this want to help, but how? I've been in that situation before. I know exactly what it's like. We could start a GoFundMe for him, but where would he hide the money? I didn't get a second of privacy when I was in that situation. And if I started coming home with new things, my parents would notice. Suddenly having money that can't be accounted for would be a bad thing in this situation. We could get him a cell phone, but again, having a thing that can't be accounted for would do more harm than good. What if his parents found it? What do we do? How do we help? I've been thinking about this for a while. What did I need when I was in that situation? What could have benefited me? Honestly, a cell phone would have done an immeasurable amount of good. It would have connected me to the world. It would have allowed me to have friends on the outside. But that's not doable. Not right now. It isn't a money thing, it's a what if he gets caught with it thing. That would make the situation way worse. Something else that would have done immeasurable good for me when I was in that situation is to have access to a therapist. But how do we even make that happen for him? He needs his parents' consent for so much. So after thinking about this, I've decided the only thing that we can offer him right now is advice. To start, if there's a professional therapist listening, maybe you can befriend him and just talk things through. If there's somebody who's been to college or who's in college, maybe try talking to him about the process of getting student loans and grants. One of the things that prevented me from going for so long is that I didn't know anything about the enrollment process. I didn't even know how to start. It was intimidating. Make that process less intimidating for him by explaining how it works. And above all else, send him encouraging messages so he knows he isn't alone. Take him out of solitary confinement. It will really fuck you up. I've said this before, but I used to watch live TV because I knew somewhere in the world what I was watching on TV was actually happening. I was watching somebody actually do that stuff. It was a connection to the outside world that I didn't have otherwise. Give him that connection to the outside world. You can find the original post in the description of this video. I'll be following the events and the poster, and when it comes to a point where we can help with donations or a cell phone or something, I'll let you guys know. That's all I've got for you. Check the description for a link to the original post and ways you can support me. Thanks for watching, guys.